Second, hi guys, Denny Grimes here, coming to you from Southwest Florida, ready to talk about scripts and dialogues in the C19 world, and the C19 world's in its 2021. So I just asked a great question from someone on the call right now is, how do you get over the fear of call reluctance? Well, and just to review, I just started answering the question, and it's really pretty simple. Number one, if you're on this call, you're taking the first step. You're becoming more comfortable. You're learning what to say. You're learning what to think. This is script practice. I mean, this is role play. Then the second thing you would want to do, and if you don't have a daily script partner where you're working on your scripts, then you're missing out, because you'll never, the example I used with the young lady I'm talking to now, generally speaking, we weren't very comfortable driving until we got comfortable driving, and we would drive in the right lane and have both hands on the wheel, going about 10 miles under the speed limit, and just kind of like paranoid. Now we drive with one knee, getting our makeup on, texting and all that, and have no problem whatsoever. Why? Because we did not want our parents to drive us around our whole lives. That gets pretty embarrassing when you're 40. So there was a desire to want to get better, therefore to go through the pain of the change, to go from uncomfortable to comfortable. Everything is that way. And then the example I use, just to put a button in it, is this: if you found a wallet on the ground with $1,000 in it, the ID was there, would anyone have any hesitancy whatsoever to make that call? Now, my question is, and all people would say no. Yet you'll make that call and have no preparation of what to say. That's kind of an interesting question, right? Why would you not be prepared on what to say when you're returning someone's wallet with $1,000 in it? Well, probably because you're doing a good deed, right? That's your mindset. You're coming from contribution, is what we say in Keller Williams. That's mindset. Your mindset is, I'm coming and I'm doing this to help people. If we have the mindset that we're doing it to get rid of our lead generation to build our net worth, now you're not coming from contribution, you're coming from perceived selfishness. So you've got to rewire that. And we have a script we'll talk about that I just kind of wrote it out yesterday, and I used it on the script competition, on how you can use a script coming from contribution. This is worth writing down unless you're driving. Everything worthwhile is uncomfortable before it's comfortable. And, we don't remember the days when we were potty trained. It was just a lot easier just to, keep diapers on instead of, having to go to the bathroom and back. However, aren't we glad we learned that? Aren't we glad we learned how to read and write? And it was never comfortable until it was uncomfortable before it's comfortable. So you get where I'm going with that. So welcome. Happy New Year to everyone. And so we're going to be covering some new things today. And if you have something you'd like to chat about, that'd be great. I see some familiar faces. Faye, good to see you from Prescott. And I trust you and Bill are doing well, and some other familiar faces. So I want to go, obviously, the class. And if you want to get the recordings and some good free stuff, I'm going to have you go to Denny Delivers Facebook page. It takes a little work to get there because there's a lot of Denny's. One's a preacher, one's a race car driver, one's a singer. I promise you none of those are me, although I do drive fast. Denny Delivers Facebook page, and everything we do is recorded. And pretty soon, I'm working with my consultant now. We're going to have a new unveiling of some new videos, shorter and chopped up things where you can kind of take little bite-sized meals. Today's going to be a little bit different. We're going to have some fun today. And as you know, we always practice the same thing: question-based, listening-enhanced conversational scripts. And we believe in it, just kind of simple. And a good metaphor, if you're new on the class, I'm just going to repeat it in case you're not new in the class. If someone asks you, hey, look, I'm lost, will you help me? One of your first questions, the only question you would ask would be, where are you going? If you had a party at your house and I called you and you invited me and my wife and I'm on my way, hey, I don't know where I am, help me find your house. Your first question would be, where are you? And when you develop this mindset around conversations with people, there's not it's not right like memorizing the 23rd Psalm. I mean, those verses are in order probably for a reason, right? That's the way it is. However, if you look, I don't know where I am. So what do you see? Well, I see there's a McDonald's on one side and an Applebee's on the other. Oh, I know where you are. Just keep going down the street. Our level of experience is just like our level of familiarity in giving people's directions to our house. For example, if you just moved to Austin, you'd only been there a week, you might not even know where the Applebee's and McDonald's is, because that's 4 miles or 5 miles from your home. You might just know the directions from your home from your mailbox. However, if you live in the city for a long time, I know. All right. So do you see a water tower on the other side? So you're very familiar with it because of your level of experience. Experienced agents on this call, like, for example, I've done it for a long time. If you called me from London, get this, I could give you directions to my party, because there's no geographic boundaries for me anymore, because regardless of where somebody is, if they want to make it to my party, I can direct them there. I want that to be your mindset. If they want to be involved in real estate, they have some desire, they're just not a looky-loo or brick kicker. If they really are rational and want to be a part of the real estate world, buying and selling or investing, there's really, you can give them directions if you know where you are and you know their starting point. So that's what we practice, right? Now, I've added something to this formula that came out during last week's call. If you weren't here last week, you should go back and listen to it. Go to the YouTube channel, Denny Delivers, because we had some great dialogue. And like I said, I'm very thankful for you guys being on the call, because this helps me sharpen my skill in my role play experience. I'm able to share it with my team members. Some are on this call today. And here is the big aha I had last week. Remember the formula. Even when we go into our 1-minute drill today, which is going to be kind of different, right? You have to handle the objection in a minute, is acknowledge, isolate, which is unload, then unpack, or other words, get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop, right? My aha from last week was this. Number 3 says, in case you can't read it there on your screen, is to address it. However, you want to get them into curiosity. You want to have them give you permission to address their concern or objection. In many ways, there's one way to do that. If there was a way that could happen, they could be having some sort of an objection that sounds like totally unrealistic. Well, let me just ask you, if there were a way to make that happen and you had an easy button, would it be worth a 15-minute conversation? You're asking for the permission to have the conversation. Now you can have a conversation and help them. Like, would you like directions to my house for a party? Yes. Okay, great. Then here's what you do. Now you're just going through a dialogue. So that is the new ingredient to this formula, rather than just, because when people go to answer, they start telling, they're kind of reflexively. They're starting to tell without asking permission. So in other words, once you isolate, now, which is the most important, got it, I totally understand. Now, if there were a way to make that happen, would it be worth a 15-minute conversation? Would it be worth a 5-minute conversation right now? If they give you yes, the pressure's off for that length of time because they gave you permission. You're no longer selling, you're having a conversation. And then you close if you can, right? So getting to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. Here's something else we talked about last week. I grabbed this from an article that was written a couple of years ago. I kind of liked it. And I've been using this as a model. Typically, when people have an objection, according to the article, and I'm using it so far, the objections will fall into one of 4 categories. They'll either fall into an affordability issue, a logistics issue, a property issue, or a risk issue. Well, let me demonstrate this. If you had somebody say, I am more of a renter. Now, this is what came out in a script off yesterday. This is one of the potential objections. If you had somebody say this to you, they're renting, and I'm just assuming here and reading between the lines that they popped into your open house, they're looking at real estate, hey, whatever, oh no, I'm just a renter. Now, when you go back to this formula, which one might it be? Could it be affordability, logistics, property, or risk? And what's interesting in this, you guys, and here's my aha, is I'm just a renter. Maybe all of them, because that's not really descriptive. I'm just a renter. There's a lot of different layers to that. And that's the basis for being great at asking questions. All right, I'm going to your house for a party. I don't really know where I am. I'm not familiar with the city at all, Chad. And you asked me where well, I tell you what, I just know I just passed a Home Depot. And right now I'm at a red light at a 7-Eleven. That may not be enough information for you because there could be more than one Home Depot. And I promise you there's probably more than one 7-Eleven. So you may have to ask some layering questions to get a little bit more distinctive, right? For example, I'm more of a renter. Could that be an affordability issue? Yeah, they may have no money, no credit. They may not qualify. They may not even know if they qualify. In their minds, they may think they don't qualify. So for them, the tenants, it could be an affordability issue. How about logistics? Well, yeah, I'm just a renter because of the logistics of me, in my mind, me getting out of my lease, finding a house, that whole process logistically is daunting to me. It's not that they don't have the money. They're making $1,500 a month payments, rental payments. They can afford a house. They've got some savings in the bank. However, in their mind, logistics is keeping them from moving forward. All right. How about the next one? I'm just a renter. Could it be a property issue? Sure. They might want to be in a certain school district or a certain distance from work, and based on their affordability, which again, it's affordability, or their interest or what they might need. They have an elderly parent live with them. They need a wheelchair access, blah, blah, blah. They may not have found the right property and given up. Each one of these potential areas is an opportunity for us if they have any type of interest in owning. Remember, I'm just a renter is a mindset issue. And you might have to deal with one or more of these issues. Like, for example, I'm just a renter. Could that be a risk issue? Yes. I think back to the movie Rudy. I think back to my family growing up. I mean, my grandparents built a home here in Fort Myers in the 50s. I think they owned a house in Ohio before they moved here, back in the 50s. Short of that, I don't know of anybody else in my family that ever owned a home. And eventually my dad, probably in his 40s, maybe 50, he finally built a house. So home ownership, yes. Okay. Home ownership was not embraced in our family because pretty blue collar, blah, blah, blah. And who knows why? I mean, I didn't know to ask the question back then. However, based on my experience growing up, nobody in our family owned property. They had the mindset, we're just renters, until my grandparents kind of broke out of that. And I'm in real estate, right? So the point here is this: although there may be 4 categories of objections, what the customer says may fit into one or more of those categories based on the questions you ask as you peel them back like an onion. So I thought that was kind of interesting as I studied that formula, those 4 different categories. Like, for example, and the last example I'll give you is this. When we've all heard this before, we can't seem to find the right property. Now, what would that be? Is that an affordability issue? Well, it could be. Maybe where they want to be in their criteria is unrealistic or high in demand. So that would be an affordability issue. Is it a logistical issue? Yes, it could be logistics, because based on, I can't find the right property, their certain needs don't exist, or because they have 2 big dogs and they're looking for a condo on the beach. It could be a logistical issue. Property issue, that's the obvious one. I can't seem to find the right property. That's a natural fit into that. And risk is, well, they may not want to step up based on their criteria. They may not want to go in debt that much, payments, that type of thing. So That's just another example that when you hear something that it could mean different things. People could say the same words. Here's my point, okay? This might be a good break for a video cut. The words don't matter as much as the meaning behind what they say. That's why when you get better at asking questions, when you become more comfortable at asking questions, you'll know how to handle the objection, because each one of those four would be handled in a different way. Got it? Any feedback on that? I got somebody watching the chat. Any thumbs up, knuckle bumps, whatever. Any feedback on that, you guys?
Gina is excited to start role playing. It says, I would love to role play.
Wow.
I know.
I would rather role play than about anything else. All right. Put your comments in there. Thanks, Sonny, for watching that. And let me know. Sometimes my camera freezes up and I don't want to do that. Christy Mock, how are you? All right. So here's something else I want to talk about. Acknowledgement. Remember, acknowledge is the first step when you have an objection. Most people get that. Most people get that instinctively. You know, maybe the D's don't, they kind of skip over it. However, let's talk about the difference between acknowledging and agreeing. Do you think there might be some disadvantages in agreeing with someone who makes a statement or an objection? What I'm going to do here is talk about for a few minutes about making agreement, using agreement as a tool. Some agents feel like if someone makes a statement that it's our job to not agree with them. If they say, look, I don't need you, I can sell it on my own. No, you can't. You know, sometimes when you agree with them, obviously the resistance goes down. So I'm going to make some statements and you kind of determine, you can put it in the chat if you want to. It'd be great. Sonny's watching it. If somebody makes a statement like this, what's the example I just used? The market is hot right now. I can sell it myself. Let's look at that statement on its surface. Can you agree with that? Is it possible that is true?
Yes.
So do you see a yes in there? Anything else? You can unmic yourself if you want to. I just want you to get this point across, because obviously that statement could be true. Now, just because you admit to the fact it's true doesn't mean they don't need us. And that's a huge gap, you guys, because it's not our job to convince them that they can't sell it on their own, because I promise you they can. We can cut our hair by ourselves, yet we go to a barber or a stylist. Why do we do that? Because results matter. And people they think they can sell their house themselves. Well, you know what? When you agree with them, of course you can. And there's a script for that. And we'll do that in script practice here in a moment, okay? Next, could this be true? With the uncertainty in the market, I'm worried about losing my job. Now, so what would it be if you acknowledge, you said, I understand, you know what? And I understand that could be a possibility. Now you have an acknowledgement and kind of an agreement. That doesn't mean that's where they should sit from a mindset standpoint, because let me ask you, is there a possibility that they could maintain their job or even get promoted, or maybe somebody sees how awesome they are? Is it possible in the future they're going to get a better job? Sure, there's always a heads for every tail. However, there's no sin in agreement. How about this one? This house has been on the market so long, there must be something wrong with it. Don't get defensive. You may be right. That's a legitimate concern. You may be right. You see, you don't lose any ground by agreeing with them, because what they're saying may be right, and versus feeling like we have to attack that, counteract that, be an antidote to that level of thinking. And I think I have maybe one more. No, two more. Okay. You know, I don't want a sign in the front of my house. Well, okay. Well, I understand that. And, you know, maybe if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't either. Now, I don't have any idea why. I mean, that's a level of questioning we'd have to get into, correct? However, there's no harm in agreeing with them. And I think this one right now, no one I know is in the market right now. Now, again, for you people calling spheres, and we talked about this a little bit today, we've got a new, really talented young lady on our team that is hitting the ground running and calling people and learning, going through the awkwardness. And she's into drama and acting and dancing and all this stuff. It's like me attempting to learn how to dance. Believe me, that's not one of my gifts. It's not something I enjoy doing. And we had a local Dances with the Stars about 6 or 7 years ago to raise money for the Red Cross. And they take a local celebrity, somebody like me or somebody who's known, can raise some money, and they hook them up with a professional dance instructor. So talking about getting out of your comfort zone and making calls, listen, that scares me to death. Anyway, I did it, spent about $10,000 in dance lessons, and it never got to be fun for me. However,
you are a good dancer.
Oh yeah, well, I'm sure I am, right? So anyway, the bottom line is this, is that when you hear it, there's no one I know in the market right now. Again, we've worked on a new script that will help people because that's a mindset issue. So you wanted to role play, let's role play. Does anyone have anything? I've got some things planned. However, what you might have might be better and more fun than what I have planned. So you're anxious to role play. Who has something like to chat in there about a role play you might like to do, and I'll demonstrate the formula and keep the role play rather short, because as we get a little bit further before we're done in this, we're going to have a little contest. They did this yesterday. MAPS had a script contest. You're going to get to see it at family reunion if you go to family reunion, regardless of your KW or not. And they gave an objection, some of the ones I've just listed. And get this, you had 1 minute. 1 minute to handle the objection. So I call it the 1 minute drill. So put it in the chat right now. What would you like to hear role played right now as we go through script practice and role play? You all want to do it. So who's going to?
All right, I got a couple here. It's internet lead follow-up, and then I'm not planning to move anytime soon. So internet lead follow-up, and I'm not planning to move anytime soon.
Well, okay, so let's go with the first one, because I had somebody, I think it might even be the same person. I had somebody send me an email that they're frustrated with the internet lead, you know, that you're reaching out, or maybe it's a Facebook lead and you're not getting anything back. Well, let me just ask you now, again, this is a worthy question, because I know we're doing role plays. Well, understanding probably what to type may be in this environment, in this technological environment, as important as knowing what to say. So let's take just a step back. I'm just assuming the person that put that in there, would you talk to me just a little bit? We'll take 3 or 4 minutes on this. Would you be willing to do that?
So that's Gina.
Gina, can you mic up?
Let me make sure.
If not, no big deal. Somebody will, because we all have this, right? Who's had an internet lead that you've communicated with and they've not followed up? They've not responded.
Yes.
And, all right, who am I speaking with?
Iman Heisler, Woodstock, Georgia.
Woodstock. Okay, Iman. Okay, so have you ever inquired about something on the internet, and because, you know, maybe you filled out your email, you get a 15% off discount if you buy something at Black & Decker or whatever. Have you ever received emails from someone or some product or service that you did not respond to?
Yes, all the time.
Okay. So then, first of all, don't take it personal that you're responding to someone basically that they're not responding. Yeah, they might have been on Zillow, and my wife just bought a new house. We were looking at houses, and, you know, so we did a lot of shopping. Have you ever been online doing some shopping, and maybe they sent you an email and whatever, and because of the follow-up, they hit you at the right time in which you responded? Would that be a yes?
Yes.
It's simple timing, you guys. It's simple timing. I don't know of any magic. Now I'm going to give you a far out idea. I believe in thinking outside the box. So if you can find out who these people are, and maybe you take $100 bill and you cut it in half and somehow send them, if you have their address, half that $100 bill, and promise them you'll send them the other half if they talk to you, you might get a better response rate. Now, I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek because I'm probably against the law to cut it in half. Why do you think they will call you if you were to do that? Why would they do it? There was value. There was value for them to stop and pick up the phone because it was worth $100. Why are they not calling you back? Probably because it's not that important to them at that time. The message and believe me, I don't have any magic pills. Just let it be consistent. Yes, you can be creative in your headlines and your titles and in your body and make it short, make it bullet points. And there's a lot of things, for example, going on. Some of the things we're talking about from a script standpoint, which we're going to go into, you can use in emails. Like, for example, not to get ahead of myself, I think the market right now that we're in right now, we call it a white hot market. These are great words. GOAT market, greatest of all times. And for sellers, it's like winning the lottery. One thing that the National Association of Realtors has published here in the last year or so, and it seems to change, you know, it makes sense. It changes a little bit over the decades. According to the National Association of Realtors, 1 out of 10 people will be moving this year. For example, if they're homeowners now, 1 out of 10 will be moving. That means 90% of the emails or the follow-up you do is probably going to fall on people outside their itch cycle. So if you have a creative message, you're only shooting for the 10%. You guys would know you would love to have a 10% conversion rate on your emails or even on your cold call. It's not going to happen. So the way you have to, one thing, you just got to get over it and be consistent about growing your database. Higher numbers, higher return. So that was question one. Now go back to the question two, Sunny, they had about, would you repeat that one, please?
Yeah, there's a couple more too. So I'm not planning to move anytime soon.
Okay.
Do you want me to give you the other ones?
No, hang on. Just,
okay.
We'll take a couple minutes. And who did that? Who would they like to role play that with me?
Barb McDonald.
Hey, Barb.
Hi there.
Are you ready?
Sure.
So you had that before, right?
Yes.
And so are you cold calling? Is this a cold call thing or maybe a sphere?
A sphere.
Okay. All right. So there's a couple things. Now, number one, going back to something I said today, is it possible that she's not planning on moving anytime soon?
Yes.
All right. Is it possible she's saying that because she doesn't want to talk to me?
Yes.
So understand, if you're going to follow up with them, and I suggest you do, I understand, Barbara. Well, let me ask you this question. Well, let me ask you, if you were to move, if basically the market would deliver you such an unbelievable number on your property right now, would there be any situation where you'd consider moving?
I guess if I heard a huge number come my way.
Okay. Other than a huge number, what would it take to get you to move?
I think it's just going to take time.
Yeah, I understand. Well, let's just assume that a huge number came your way. Where would you go? What would you do?
Just downsize to a smaller place to maintain more easily.
Now, notice when I said that, I changed my tone. I slowed down because it was almost like, just dream a little bit with me. Just dream. You know, in the rare event that would happen, what would you do? You would downsize. Well, all right. So would it be in the same area?
Yes.
Now, I could layer that question. You have a few minutes to do that. Now, here's what I have learned just from this conversation. She says, I had no intention of moving. However, by me asking her, just dream a little bit, just you got some wild number. Forget about if it's reasonable or not. What would you do? Now, is there a concern really? I'm not planning on leaving. You think that's where she's coming from at this point? Or the right motivation has not come her way yet, meaning she may not have been able to get the right number for her house, or maybe that's a starting point, or she hasn't fallen in love yet. You see, just by asking a few questions, we shifted the base. I'm not planning on moving to, well, if I got $1 million for my house and I found a cottage on the beach for 90,000, I would do it. Now, it does not matter if that's unrealistic, because what you've learned is there is a possibility she'll move.
It's not impossible.
No, so let that go to the extreme and then bring it back. And then I would do what I said earlier. I said, okay, now, what if it were possible? What if it were possible? Because the market right now is white hot, and you could basically, it's like winning the lottery. With that kind of money, what neighborhood would you live in? Boom. Then, and then maybe you say, well, let me ask you, would it be worth at least a 15-minute conversation or a 30-minute conversation to find out how big your lottery winnings would be? I can pop over and just talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the market. Now, Barb, would that be something you could do?
Well, I wouldn't want to commit.
Okay, you don't want to commit. What does that mean?
To moving, but I'm curious about the value of my home.
Oh, heaven's sakes, you don't have to commit. This is just a fact finding. This is just fact finding. What if it were possible? I mean, if it were possible, would you want to know it were possible?
Yes.
And if it's not possible, then we know it's not possible, right?
That too.
You see, I'm not resisting at all. I'm on her side, because here's a blessing, folks. What would be worse than having someone say, I don't want to move? They would tell you, I want to move, and don't really mean it. Now, what are you doing? You're wasting time. So I'm available today at 3 or at 5, be better. Get the appointment, sit down, look at it. And you know what? It will either be possible or it won't be possible. And, you know, and I say, and it's a script that I use, you can't win in any market unless you're in the market. At least you have a seller and a potential buyer if the right market conditions change. The reason you would want to invest your time in doing that is this. Guess what might happen? Something may happen in Barb's life that causes her motivation to change. And she goes from unrealistic to realistic. Now, there's a direct relationship, you guys, and it's worth writing down and remembering. There's a direct relationship between motivation and realism. People that are not motivated have a tendency to be a whole lot less realistic. However, if you've got basically the bank breathing down the neck, or you're going to lose your home, or unless you sell it, guess what? You get a whole lot more motivated. You get a lot more realistic. So again, I will start with someone, even if they're not really motivated, maybe even unrealistic. I'm not doing a lot of work for them. They're in my database. We're in conversations, because you need all levels of business in your pipeline, not just the clients that have the check stapled to their forehead. Next, did that help you, Barbara?
Yes, thank you, Denny.
Next, Sunny.
Okay, a couple more. So no one I know is in the market now. I'm afraid the housing market's going to hit a bubble.
Okay.
Oh my God, you're about the 100th real estate agent that's called me. That's it.
All right. Well, let's just take it one at a time. There's no one I know that's in the market now. So I'm going to, that's an interesting one. So I had that here. Right, that's it, right? This is one that came up from Maps yesterday. Now, so you're doing your sphere calls. Hey, who do you know that's interested in buying or selling or invest in real estate that I could call? And Bold has the script. Hey, look, I'm new. You know, I'm excited. I've just joined this team in real estate. Will you help me? We're having a contest who can have the most, referrals in the next 30 days or whatever. All right. So that's the conversation. They say, I don't know anyone in the market right now. And so what I wrote down is, and I don't have to read this because I kind of already know it, is this. Who wrote that? And just role play with me real quick. Who'd be willing to do that?
Morale.
Morale. Okay. All right. So Morale, thank you. This is the young rock star on our team. So Morale. So I understand. So let me, I totally understand that. And I'm assuming if you did, or you meet someone, you'll call me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Super. Well, let me ask you a different question, Morale. Do you know anybody that would love to win the lottery?
I think everyone wants to win the lottery.
Yes. And basically, if you could call someone and everyone you would call had a higher chance of winning, do you think they'd be thankful for you?
Absolutely.
Well, look at it this way. The market right now is white hot. Sellers are selling their homes for more money than they ever thought possible. Sometimes thousands of dollars. I've even seen tens of thousands of dollars of extra equity these sellers are getting. It's kind of like winning the lottery. And did you know there's 7 reasons why sellers should be on the market now? Because it's a great time to sell. So do you think someone in the people you know might be thinking about, you know what, they want to get bigger, they want to go down in size, they want to move north, they want to move south, and they don't even know now is a good time? So let me ask you this question. Who do you know that might like to win the lottery and put extra money in your pocket and then think of you as a superhero at the same time? The answer still may be the same. It may be different. However, you're framing it different. Going back to the conversation we had at the beginning of the call. So somebody needs to mute themselves. Going back to the beginning of the call, if you found a wallet that had $10,000 in it, on average, probably sellers are putting $10,000, maybe $20,000 more in their pocket. Do you think they might remember that when they're talking to them, when they go to the gym and meet with someone, they're thinking, yeah, we'd like to get a bigger house, whatever. All this real estate agent, approach it from a different angle. Like, I don't know anybody who wants to be in the market right now. Change the way you're presenting that. Who do you know that would love to be guaranteed to win the lottery? I should change it. I just thought of that. Write that down. Who do you know that would love to have a guaranteed ticket to win the lottery? Who wouldn't? Well, you know, the market's white hot right now. Sellers are basically winning, putting thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in their pocket. And there's 7 reasons why sellers should be in the market now. So who do you know that I could call that would love to hear what those 7 reasons are? So that's the script for that. That's the script that really only takes 1 minute, although I took a couple of minutes because I gave it to you a couple of different ways. So any comments on that? Any layering on that before we go to the next one? Sunny, next.
I'm afraid the housing market's going to hit a bubble.
Oh, awesome. Who was our brave soul to give us that one?
Jeff
Yeah.
Pennington.
Who was that?
Jeff Pennington.
Oh, hey, Jeff.
Hey, Ding.
So thanks for doing that. So all right, let me go back to a statement I made a little bit ago before we start the role play. Is Jeff right? Is there a possibility that the housing market will hit a bubble? Yes or no?
Yes.
So don't be afraid to agree. I hear you, Jeff. You might be right. Let me ask you, do you think that you might be wrong?
Yeah, I really don't have any idea which way it's going to go. I'm just kind of concerned because it's been going up for quite a while.
Okay, right. I totally understand. Now, I'm going to ask you, now that we're at this point, I agreed with him. He agreed with me. He could be wrong. Isn't that a fair starting position?
Yep.
Where would you go next? More than one right answer. However, I think there's something in my mind that should be discovered now. What would it be?
We know what's going on in the market now.
Okay? Yep, we do. That's a known. It might continue, it might not. What would be another question that would come to your mind? In fact, there's no wrong answer. What are you wondering? What do you want? I tell this to my team all the time. If you're wondering something, if you've got a question in your mind, it's probably worth asking because you're attempting to put the puzzle pieces together. Now, I know agents hesitate on asking because they're not sure it's the right question. However, you're better off asking for clarity than guessing. We need a lever. I use this analogy all the time to help you guys get it. Imagine a big ball bearing, a big steel ball that's 10 feet tall. And I know rock climbers can climb. You're looking for a handle to climb a perfectly smooth sphere. What's the handle?
Other than?
Okay, great. All right, beautiful. That's a formula. Other than that, is there anything else that would keep you from moving forward, buying a home?
No.
Okay, perfectly. We've isolated. What's the handle you're looking for? This handle is in everyone. You just have to dig for it. Starts with M and ends in motivation.
Motivation?
Motivation. You've got to start somewhere because people are thinking about buying a house. They are leaving discomfort to go to comfort. Write that down because that's true. They're leaving a small house to go to bigger house, or leaving living with mom and dad to go into their own place. They're leaving a big house payment for a smaller house payment. They're going from no yard to a yard so they can enjoy their new baby. You understand, they're going from something to something positive. Even if it's a downsize, it's positive. That means they're in a level of discomfort now. And you have to go back and say, Jeff, I understand that. Tell me about your situation. Do you own or you rent?
We're renting right now and been on top of each other since the pandemic started.
Yes. And so then your motivation would be to, okay, all right. So now you have an option, right? Your option would be, now some people would be afraid. I'm not giving them options. I don't want to give them ideas. However, it's like you hadn't thought about it before. Well, I guess your options, you want someplace bigger. You could go to a bigger rental, couldn't you?
Yeah, but then it gets a lot more expensive. And at that point, I feel like, why waste the money on rent?
Now, you see what just happened there? People would be puckered up asking that question. However, they just closed the door on it. Now you don't have to worry about that anymore. He just told you why. In fact, they probably already did look for a bigger rental. And when they're not going to pay $4,500 a month. They can own a house. So now, okay, so let me ask you, how long have you been renting?
About 3 years now.
All right. And so based on what you see happening in the market, knowing what you know right now, would you have been better off to buy 3 years ago versus today?
We would have, and we sold 3 years ago for some, personal reasons, and kind of wished we hadn't.
Okay. However, if you would have bought then maybe the bigger house instead of going into the rental you're in now, would you have grown in equity?
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking back on it, if we could groundhog day this and start over, would you have bought 3 years ago?
Absolutely.
Now, why did I take him back to that? I took him back to that, although I didn't say you made a mistake, is I'm going to duplicate it. Well, I have met with buyers for the last 8 to 10 years. This market is moving up, Jeff. I've got people that didn't want to step into this market 8 years ago because they thought there was going to be a bubble. Did a bubble happen?
No.
Values are up about 35%. Do you have any concern whatsoever? Now, notice I'm not telling him what's going to happen because do we know? No. Do you have any concern whatsoever that if you decide to go on the sidelines waiting on a bubble to happen, you might be that person that's going to pay, lose out on 10, 20, or 30% equity over the next 3 to 5 years. Do you want that to happen?
No, do you think the market will continue to go up over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, let me ask you this. I've learned in all these years of real estate that I know a lot about what's going on now. And this is a great script, you guys. I'm not great at predicting the future. If I were great at predicting the future, I would quit real estate and buy Powerball tickets for a living. The question is, which way do you want to err? How long are you going to be in the house, Jeff?
I expect our next house to be at least 7 to 10 years.
So let me ask you, let's say it goes up. Let's say you buy now in 7 to 10 years. Would that have been a good decision?
Absolutely.
Let's say you were to buy now and the market dips. Now there's no sign of a bubble, although it can change. Now I did make that distinction. However, over the long run, does the real estate market generally go up or down?
Yeah, historically, it seems like it continues to go up. We did have a bubble, but 5 years later, it was on the way back up again.
So if you're going to be there 7 to 10 years, if there's any short-term variations, would that even be relevant?
That's a good point, Denny. I guess not.
One more thing. What if there were just the right house for you and maybe we found the right seller for you and it was just a hand glove situation? And how would that make you feel if we could make that happen for you? Here's the what if. Here's the what if. What if it was that awesome home out there and just the right neighborhood, your family loved it, close to the schools, everything you want, and you weren't able to get it at a fair value?
Yeah, that sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Well, I've learned that you can't win in any market unless you're in it. So why don't we go out there and see if that exists? And if it doesn't, you don't have to buy. You could go back to renting.
You know what? I think I'm open to exploring that.
So let's just take a second and stop there because I did a couple different things. Talk to me about if you liked it, if you felt uncomfortable. Jeff, you can talk to me as the buyer. What did you notice that I did there?
Well, I think for one, you never tried to push me into anything. You just kind of pulled common sense out and said, hey, if this makes sense, is it worth exploring? And then you even suggested that if it doesn't, you can always go back to what you were planning to do, or what you're currently doing. So you really took away any real fear or reason that I wouldn't at least explore the opportunity.
Yes. Any other comments on that? I'll close it with one comment. Did anybody else see what I did there? There is a progression from someone coming from where Jeff was. I think there's going to be a bubble. So if they have whatever position, would it be realistic? And I use corny examples, you guys. So, when you date, then you get married, right? I know I'm going back to, the Ozzie and Harriet days. You don't on the first date plan your wedding. So my philosophy is to get him off dead center with a question mark in his mind, thinking, and get him into the market looking. Is there a better chance you will get momentum moving forward if you can get them moving forward? At least, why don't we just explore the market and see what's out there? Isn't there a better chance isn't that kind of a stepping stone process? And when you get them out to look at houses and maybe the family gets excited and they see the house, blah, 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 don't you have a better chance? So why don't you close for first base instead of closing for home plate? That's what I did. No pushing, no telling market statistics, just saying, look, you may be right, you may be wrong. I know a lot of people who have been waiting for the bubble that's never happened. The only point I challenged him on is bubble. This is not going to be a bubble. Now, our economy may go to crap. And values may go to crap. That's not a bubble. So I got rid of the bubble word. There will be some fluctuations. I think in 8 to 10 years or whatever, he'll be fine. Any feedback, any thumbs up, knuckle bumps, or
Well, you know, that's kind of like the, Amador and I were both in the car business for many years. And that's kind of like why you get someone to go on a test drive.
or the puppy dog clothes, right?
Get them in the car, let them drive it, see what it looks like, smells new, feels great, drives great, and then all of a sudden it's a lot easier. And they didn't show up to the dealership if there wasn't some kind of motivation. And I think that's what you did. You found my motivation, which was I'm cramped. I wish I would have bought a house 3 years ago. I'm stuck in a situation renting. I don't want to waste money on rent, getting a bigger place. So you already determined that there's a lot of motivation, and then you led me down the path of exploring the opportunity without it feeling like something I'm pressured into. And I made my own decision.
Awesome. That was a great role play. Thank you so much for that, Jeff. Nice job. Sonny, they might have another one there. I'm going to go through the 1-minute drills, and I need some brave souls to step up, because this is what I had to do yesterday. I'm going to give you, I'll let you look. For example, these are actually, if you had someone say, we talked about this earlier today, I'm just a renter. I am more of a renter. You have 1 minute to have a conversation. Then we've got several of these. So just who would like to have a conversation? I'll be me. I'm just a renter. You've got 1 minute to handle that objection. Who would like to go?
I'm not in the market, Jeff. I'm Denny. I'm just ready to keep on renting.
No, I'm going to be that part. I want somebody to be the agent.
Oh, I see.
You want to be the agent?
I sure will.
All right. 1 minute. Sonny, can you time me?
Yes.
All right. Go.
So Denny, tell me about your situation. You had talked in the past about wanting to move.
Yeah, but I've rented, I'm not really an owner. I rent homes.
Oh, well, I understand that can be very lucrative for people. Do you foresee that being the plan for years to come?
I guess, I don't know, as we've always rented.
Yeah, you don't have a crystal ball, and if that's only been your experience in renting, but do you feel interested in learning about building some equity and buying the property?
That's a great question. Well, all right. Oh, yeah.
Well, if I could give you some information and guidance about the market, would that be worth a 15-minute appointment?
All right. So it's probably close to a minute now. We're probably at 50 seconds right now. No. You did a good job. Now you asked a couple of great questions, and then, okay. And again, if you have a minute, I know you'll always have more than a minute. This is a great drill though. And how can you, for example, you'd still follow the model, and we'll do a couple more. I wrote down something because I had some time to think about this. Let me share this with you. And this is what I wrote down in case I was called on for the script off on this one. I wouldn't be able to read it. I'd have to give it. So I understand, I've heard that before. Now I'm acknowledged, and I've discovered that most people who said that really didn't want to always rent. They wanted to build equity. Now you said that. That was a nice job. Yet they were a little fearful about stepping into the market. Is that how you feel? So now I just basically generalized that, and they're fear. Is that how you feel? And they may say yes or no, or let's just say they say yes. Now here's what I'm proud of. So this is like, I love this. Have you ever watched two professional teams play ball, or do you know? All right, so I'm going to go back. Who was I talking to there? Barb, right? Is that Barb?
Yes.
All right, I'm talking to you now. Have you ever watched professional sports? Maybe two teams play each other, or maybe somebody who has watched sports.
Sure.
And they typically say when one team, there's a winner and a what?
And a loser.
Yes, that's what they say. However, that's not right. In professional sports, here's what happens. There's a winner and a non-winner. And you know why they're not losers?
Why?
Players on both teams got paid. It
That's
doesn't
true.
matter if you win or lose. It matters if you're in the game. So I understand the level of uncertainty you may have in this market. Here's what I've learned. In spite of the level of uncertainty, and we have that in every market, you can't win in this market unless you're in this market. So what would it look like? Maybe there's that house out there that would be perfect for you and your family, that you could afford, that you could start building equity. Wouldn't you want to at least consider that moving forward? That's how I would handle that. I love the sports analogy. There's no winners and losers. There's winners and non-winners. Just to be in the game, you want to be in the game to get paid. So anyway, there's that one. Nice job. Thanks, Barb. Who's next? This time I'm not going to give you the objection until I have a volunteer.
I'll do it.
Rosemary, here we go.
Yeah, it'll be awful because I'm new at this, but
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. Now, that sounds like a mindset issue there. We'll have to work on that.
okay.
This house has been on the market so long, there must be something wrong with it. That's what I'm saying. You've got 1 minute. Go.
Well, let's look at the seller's disclosure and we'll start there. And after they take a look at it, do you have any questions about that? Do you see anything that could be wrong with it or that could be a potential problem?
The sellers, they could have lied on here.
Well, that's true. They could have lied. Would you be more comfortable bringing somebody that you know in to take a look at it?
Well, I mean, there must be something hidden. I mean, that's my concern.
Oh, well, there I'm stumped. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're brave and you're new. Let's give her like knuckle bumps. Anybody want to handle that?
I'll give it a shot, Denny.
Jeff, you're a rock star today. All right, here it is. This is what I said. You got 1 minute. Go.
Hey, Denny, I certainly can understand your concern there. We don't see too many houses on the market a long time right now. Let's explore what some of the potential causes of that might be. Are you open to that?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so what we've often found is that, it comes down to price, and a lot of times they're overpriced. Let's take a look at the pricing on that. If we determine that it's really just a pricing issue and we could offer a price that would fit your budget and make more sense for that neighborhood, is it something you'd want to explore?
Well, yeah, I guess. Are you saying it's not priced right?
That's what it looks like. It looks like it's been on the market longer than it should have been because of pricing. Now, obviously, we need to inspect the house to make sure there isn't an issue, and I can have a conversation with the agent to see if there's something that they've been running into. Would you like me to go ahead and do that first?
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
All right, great. So other than the fact that it's been on the market a long time, is there any reason you wouldn't be interested in this particular house?
Now, because you're kind of an advanced student, Jeff, that should have been the first thing you said to me.
Okay.
You acknowledged I was waiting for the isolation. Don't forget the model, even when you have a full minute. Other than how long it's been on the market, is there anything else that would keep you from buying the home? I would say, no, this house is perfect. Go with me again. One more time, Jeff. This house is perfect.
Okay, great. Then why don't we take a look at why the house has been on the market longer? I could give the agent a call and see if there's anything that they've been running into. How would that sound?
Okay, so you guys, for the newer people on the call, this is how I've had time to think about it. You guys are right on the fly, right? This is what I've come up with. Let me give you, let me test this out for you, because I can be a little bit, out there sometimes. Jeff, I'm going to stay with you. You just said that to me. Now, make sure you look at the price history. For example, I could use Jeff's line of thought. So, let me ask you, if you had a home that's worth $300,000 and it was on the market for $400,000, it's perfectly brand new, nothing wrong with it. Would it maybe sit on the market, Jeff?
Yeah, if it's way overpriced, sure.
Now, I have just planted the seed by asking the question that time on the market may have to do with price. I said a brand new house, perfect. under warranty without even making a statement. Watch this analogy. You tell me, you can put it in your chat, or you can tell me, Denny, put it in a waste can. Jeff, do you know what normally speaking, the average, the legal age to get married in most states is? You know what it is?
I don't know, maybe 18.
Yeah, it's 18. And you know, on average today, how the age of young people when they get married, you know how old they are?
25 or 28, maybe.
28, you're right on. There's 10 years. Now, what are a couple of reasons why people will wait? They're legally ready to get married at 18, yet don't get married to the 28, until the 28. In other words, they're on the market for 10 years. Why do you think that might be?
Because they haven't found the right one, or they're not quite sure what they want yet.
See, he just said it. They haven't found the right person yet. See, real estate is timing. They say location is important. I agree with that. I think another ingredient equally important is timing. Maybe this is your time to say, I do. Are you ready to move forward? What do you think? Corny?
No, put a ring on it first.
Well, I was going to say, hey, Jeff, are you married?
I am, yes.
And how old were you when you got married?
Good question. I was right around 30 years old.
So could some young lady have walked up to you and said, you know what, this guy's been on the market for 12 years. There must be something wrong with him. Would that have been accurate?
Yes. And my ex-wife would definitely agree.
Okay. I'll probably leave that one alone. All right. I got another one here. I got time. Oh, no, we're over. Do you guys have any comments or you want to do one more? I can't do one more. It's only going to be a minute. You want to stay with me or not?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do one more.
One more. Here we go. I'm going to use this one. Who wants this one for 1 minute? The market is hot right now. I can sell it myself.
I'll go with you, Danny.
All right. Amador. Good to hear from you today. All right. So, hey, the market's hot right now. I can sell it myself. I don't need you.
You know, Denny, you may be 100% right. It may be that you can do that. Other than being able to sell it on your own right now, is there any other reason that you wouldn't spend a few minutes with me discussing how I may be able to help you?
So far, it's textbook. Good job. No, I wouldn't. No, I would meet with you. Yeah, that's the only reason.
Well, Denny, if there was a way that I could show you that it's entirely possible for you to put your house on the market and yet leave money on the table when you sell it, would you want to set an appointment and let me spend a few minutes going over how I can assist you?
Now, that is textbook. If I'm never not going to be able to be on the call, I'm going to call on Amador because he followed the model, acknowledged, he isolated, then he got me into curiosity and asked for permission for the discussion. I don't know how I could do any better. Nice job. You did it well inside of a minute. Let me just give you, and I'll close with this, you guys, something I wrote down that might be helpful for somebody who says that. First of all, he agreed with me. This is what I would say. You're right, Amador. You don't need me to sell your house. Any seller can give their home away. You need a professional like me to get you top dollar. Now, let me ask you, Amador, do you think the market's working in your favor as a seller?
Yeah, it's working in my favor.
The market is moving upward fast. It's a white hot market. Sellers, prices are rising faster than I've ever seen it. So basically, let me ask you this question. Is it easier to hit a stationary target or a moving target?
Stationary target.
My name is Mandeep, and I am.
And here's why you need me. You don't need me. You don't need an agent to hit a stationary target. You don't need an agent to help you hit the lag market. You need an agent like me who lists and sells a house every day to hit where the market's going. And that delta could put more money in your pocket. Wouldn't it be worth a 15-minute conversation to show you how I can get more money for you than you can on your own? That's where I would go with that. The static target versus a moving target. The market's moving up. And listen, you know, we're in this business all the time and the market shocks us. Do you think somebody who's in it like once in every 5 or 10 years can even begin to find the top of the market? Absolutely not. That's our value proposition. That was well done, Amador. Very well
Thank you,
done.
sir.
Any other comments before we go? You guys have been awesome. No class on Thursday. We're going to be ready for Tuesday. I'm preparing another little gig on Thursday. Any comments, any ahas? Sonny, read them out if you get them.
It's okay to agree.
Nothing?
Nothing. Oh, well done. Thank you. You're awesome. Great work.
All right. Thank you, guys. Al, I can't believe you're not talking to me, Al.
But today,
I missed that. I'm sorry. Hey, Ginger.
Nugget is okay to agree. Really good. Appreciate working through scenarios.
All right, you guys have an awesome week. Love you,
You
mean
the
it.
same, Denny.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.